Welcome to Let's Talk Property, an informal podcast show all about the UK property and mortgage market. I'm Nizam, and joining me is my co-host Lee. Whether you're a seasoned property investor or just starting to think about buying your first home, this podcast is for you. We'll be discussing a range of topics, including the latest market trends, tips for finding the perfect property, and how to secure the best mortgage deal. So join us as we explore the world of property and help you make informed decisions about your next property purchase. So today's episode, I'm going to talk about the 3 lesser known online tools that you need to know about when looking to buy your first or next home. Lee, how you doing?
I'm not too bad, thanks, Nizam. That's probably the smoothest intro we've had so far. So well done.
Yeah, that wasn't bad, was it? At 4th time's a charm, apparently.
That was a good one. No, I'm really well, thank you. The mornings are getting lighter. I trust you've been to the gym this morning. Have you?
Oh, have you?
No, have you? Have you been to the gym this morning?
No, I haven't. Don't ask me that. I haven't.
I've
only been once this week.
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks, mate. I'm well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to. I saw my first daffodil this morning.
Oh, is that? Yeah.
I was dropping my daughter off and at nursery and came back and saw my first daffodil. But then I hear the beast from the east is on its way over here again, so we'll see if it survives.
That's typical, isn't it? We see the sort of first signs of spring, and then there's bang, the news comes on, and we've got beast from the east coming around the corner. Exactly, that's typical things, isn't it?
To wipe it out again.
Should we delve into your topic then? I think it sounds really good. It sounds quite cryptic, actually. 3 lesser known online tools you need to know about when buying your first or next home. Now, I'll be really intrigued by this. So what are these tools? It'd be good to know.
Absolutely. So yeah, I intentionally made it really cryptic to try and intrigue some listeners. But so obviously buying a home is going to be one of the most important decisions you are going to make in your life. You know, you need to make sure you've got all the information you can or you can access in order to make sure it's going to be the right decision for you. If you're anything like me, you'll spend ages looking at the detail. You'll weigh everything up, all the pros, all the cons, and the more information you can get, the better, to make sure that you can make sure you find the best home for you, and it ticks as many boxes as possible. So what I want to share with everyone is 3 online tools. One of these I only found out about this week, so yeah, I may not have all of the information on it, but it is a great tool. They're all free. They're all free tools, and they're all really easy to use. So it's something, I guess, just to introduce people, highlight what the benefits are, and then let them play around with it, really.
I think you touched on a good thing. What music to everyone's ears is they're free. When buying a property and you hear something that's free, I think your ears prick up. Definitely.
That's nice, isn't it? Nothing else is. Yeah. Excellent. So the first tool I want to talk through with everyone is called Street Check. Now, colleague of mine, another mortgage and protection advisor, told me about this and kind of just went, "Oh yeah, just have a look on Street Check." And I thought, I said to her, she must have seen my face, because she said, do you know what Street Check is? I said, no, I've got no idea. But you reassured me. You said you haven't heard of it either.
I've never heard of Street Check, and I have no idea. So I'm really glad I'm on this podcast, to be honest.
There we are. Let me enlighten you. So I've had a play around with it. So Street Check is an online tool, provides detailed information about local areas and neighbourhoods in the UK. So obviously, buying a property, one of the biggest things you will want to know is, am I buying a property in the right location for me? Especially if you're not that familiar with it. You know, if you're relocating, or I recently moved from the south side of Peterborough to the north side of Peterborough to a village, and I didn't actually, even though I grew up in Peterborough, I didn't actually know where I live now that well. So this would have been great for me to use before we bought. But what it does is you type in your address, you type your postcode in, and it tells you a couple of things. So I'm going to cover 3 different areas it covers. So one of the really, really important ones is crime rates. So, you know, if you are going to be buying somewhere, you want to make sure it's going to be somewhere that's safe, of course. especially if you've got a family or children. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to access, not in particular loads of detail, but it gives you an idea on information on crime rates in the area. So it will tell you things like what type of crime has been registered, what kind of how many police reports there have been on different areas of crime in the last 12 months or month. I think this went back to last month, actually.
Wow. That's good for insurance, though, right? As well. I'm not going to delve too much into that, but that's good for buildings insurance or car insurance and things like that.
Yeah,
checking the crime areas.
I imagine they'll already know the stats and claim stats, but no, good for you to know as a buyer, definitely.
Yeah.
So that's one. Next is schools. It allows you, actually, I think Rightmove does this as well, but this also allows you to, if you've got children, young children, like I've got a young daughter, we kind of wanted to see what the local school was like. I had no idea. So Street Check also allows you to kind of view some information about the school, how many children are there, what the performance is, most likely what their Ofsted rating is, and again, make sure it's kind of the right kind of school you're looking for. And then the third one is transport links. So it also gives you an idea on what kind of transport links there are. So again, if you're slightly outside the city and you don't have a car, you don't want to rely on driving, or you're sharing a car or whatever, then actually this allows you to kind of understand what are the bus links if you're near a train station, what the transport links like, what is the closest train station, and again, helping you make that decision, especially if you're commuting.
I think that's really, really good tool, because I think I saw a stat on Rightmove a little while ago, and I think it was something like, particularly the school one, 18% of searches on Rightmove based on location were due to schools, being near a good school, or it was a high percentage, and particularly if you're moving to a location you're not familiar with, it's a fantastic tool to understand what schools are nearby and what their ratings are like, and if schools are important to you, particularly if you've got children. It's a fantastic tool. I don't know anything else like it other than driving around over to the schools and finding out what they're like.
You've got to be careful doing that, driving slowly past schools, though, haven't you, for obvious reasons. But no, this does help you understand those bits. And what's quite good is some of this information is on Rightmove, and it's probably out there elsewhere, but this is all combined in one place. You just put your postcode in, and it gives you a graph on everything. There's lots of other stats and stuff it gives you information on as well. One thing I really liked is broadband speeds. So it tells you the broadband speeds and what the average upload speed, the average download speed, and is gigabit, whatever that is. It sounds quite fancy. It's gigabit available, and also who the providers, who the top broadband suppliers in the area. So it gives you loads of information for free.
Wow, that's amazing. Particularly those of you who are working from home. You buy a house now based on your internet connection, don't you? So,
exactly that, yeah. And it is something that a solicitor will check, but I don't know if they'll check that level of detail. So again, really, really useful. Now I'm going to move on to the second tool. Is so again, just to reiterate, that's called Street Check. Streetcheck.co.uk, and all you do is you type your postcode in. The next one is the EPC register. So we're hearing more and more about EPC ratings, and the EPC is the Energy Performance Certificate Register. And it's basically an online database. It's a government-based database, and it provides information on the energy efficiency of properties in the UK. Again, I only found this out in the last year as this has become more prevalent, but actually you can access your EPC rating on any property in the UK if it's had one done. So you type your address in, type the postcode in, and then you can select your property. Three main benefits of this one. So firstly is running costs. Obviously, energy bills and utilities and everything going up. This allows you to kind of calculate the estimated running costs for a property based on its EPC rating. So if it's losing lots of heat through the windows or through the roof, or like we mentioned in previous podcast, my house isn't boarded in the loft, so again that will affect the EPC rating. Got fairly new windows, so that'll be a good thing. So it weighs it all up and it gives you a rating. Now energy costs will obviously come into that, because the worse rating it is, then actually the more expensive it's likely to be. So that helps you to again make a decision as to whether it's a property you really want to proceed with, if the running costs are quite high. The second part is understanding the efficiency, so the energy efficiency. So what it does, it also provides you information on the energy efficiency of a property, and making sure, like we said, you've got the running costs, but also how efficient is the property itself as well, and is it a property that kind of ticks the box that you're looking for, really? If you're looking for an energy efficient property, you can see that before you decide to go and view a property or put an offer in. And the third, which kind of links into this, and I really like this one, if you are someone that cares about your carbon footprint, cares about the environment and sustainability of the planet, then actually you might want to be taking an informed decision to make sure the property you're buying is one that has got a low carbon footprint or not a particularly high one. Because again, if you're buying one that's got a high carbon footprint, you might then have to spend quite a bit of money to get it to a point where it hasn't got such a high carbon footprint. So actually, again, it allows you to make that informed decision as to, is that something you want to undertake, or would you rather just buy one that's got a low carbon footprint? So it can be useful if you're environmentally conscious and want to reduce your carbon footprint. So three benefits there. There is one more bonus one I'll just quickly talk about. I won't dive into it, but on the mortgage side, there are more lenders now, as you and I will both know, having working in the industry. There are more lenders now offering sort of preferential rates or discounted rates or additional cashback and all sorts of different incentives if your property is energy efficient, and if it's an A or a B, generally that's my understanding. Is that right with you?
Yeah. That's, to be honest, that's really good. I think just for people listening, I assume you can, if you're looking at buying a home, I assume you put the property address in, and it will maybe bring up the certificate or the details of the property.
Absolutely, exactly the same as Street Check. You put it takes you to I think you just literally will Google EPC register, look at the government one, the government website, so .gov. You type the address in, type the postcode in, and it will give you a list of all the properties that are under that postcode. Have a look at yours, and then on the right of that, it will show you the rating A, B, C, D, E, F, or however much it goes up to. So, I mean, I tend to see it's anywhere between A and D. We've mentioned before in previous podcast episode, newer properties are normally A or B, unless there's been significant work to improve the property. But
I think that's going to be super, especially as you say, people can more and more about their footprint. Energy bills is obviously the hot topic at the minute, with energy bills and how heat tight is your property. So that's a great one. I think that's a great one.
Exactly. Brilliant. Excellent. Awesome. So tool number 3. So we've done Street Check. We've covered the EPC register. This last one is slightly different. So actually, this is more around making sure that you are paying a fair price for the property you're buying. So obviously, when someone goes to put their property on the market, they'll contact an estate agent, they'll get a valuation, and then they'll list their property with which agent they choose to go with. Now, obviously, an agent's job is to value the property fairly and in line with the market. But one thing you might want to do as a buyer, especially when markets are moving all the time, is check that yourself and get an idea to make sure actually you are paying what you feel is a fair price in line with what properties are selling for that are similar in a similar location. So what I want to share, this tool is Zoopla, which a lot of people will have heard of. But actually on Zoopla, you can access the sold prices of properties. So again, Zoopla is a popular online property search portal, and the sold prices on there, the sold prices database is really, really useful. So let me just sort of highlight why it's so good. There's 3 reasons here that I'm going to give as well. So it allows you to understand the local property market. So again, you would go in and you would search for a particular location, postcode, street, whatever it is, and Zoopla will say, okay, based on the access to the data they've got, these are all of the properties that have sold in the last decades, and also how much they sold for, and they get that information, I believe, from Land Registry where it's registered. So that allows you to see all of the completed sales, so properties that have actually completed in terms of selling, and how much they sold for. It gives you an idea on what sort of prices other properties. If you've got a row of houses that are all very similar, and you're looking to buy one, actually, you can have a little look and, okay, property sold a year ago for this. Then what I would then do is look at, okay, what was property inflation in my area, which you can look up and say, all right, well, how much have house prices gone up on average in Peterborough or in Cambridge or wherever, and then use that information to your advantage to say, okay, well, it's sold for, I'm going to use really basic numbers, it's sold for 100 grand. Property inflation last year was 20%. I should be paying around 120 grand for this property. There's loads of factors, obviously, that come into it. The work, has there been any work on a property? How many bedrooms has it got? Has it got the same size garden? Has it got a drive? Has one got a garage and the other one? So it only works if you're really looking at similar properties, identical properties, and in a very tight sort of location to the one you're looking at.
It's a really, really good tool. And I guess you can also see how many properties have sold recently, I suppose, as well. Can you? Is it sort of like date based? I suppose if none have sold in the last few years, then it could be a good and bad thing. It could be actually it's a very good place to stay, and not many people sell their houses. Or
good point.
It could be an in demand area. But I think that's going to be a fantastic tool, and it almost, dare I say, I hope there's no agents listening to this, puts you on an upper hand as your own little research in the back pocket when looking at properties, maybe.
Absolutely. And the two other benefits on that, it allows you to avoid overpaying or what you think is a fair price. Now, let me just sort of address the elephant in the room. You might decide that you think the fair price is this, and actually you might be wrong. But actually, if you're using the information you've got and you present that, then you never know. Like you said, you might have a real honest conversation with an agent and say, look, I think this property is probably listed a little bit high. Here's my evidence of what I think it's worth. Agents probably be cringing at me saying that.
I think they'd be quite shocked if you brought out a 49-page research on the 12 properties. But that's a great tool.
Absolutely. And I'll just really quickly cover the last one. So the last thing it allows you to do, like we just said, is negotiate on the price as well. So if you've got that armed with that information, then walk in and have a good conversation and say, look, this is what I think it's worth. This is what I'm willing to pay. And that's it, really. So in conclusion, Street Check, EPC Register, and Zoopla's sold price database can help you make informed decisions on whether the property you're buying is right for you.
That's fantastic. I think there's some great tools that particularly first-time buyers and even experienced buyers can take out of those tools when buying a property. I think there's some great things to take away there. What's the one thing you've learned from today's episode then?
Has to be Street Check. Has to be Street Check. I mean, that is one thing I've played around with this week a lot, and having all that information in one place, brought together in one website, is fantastic. So I think that's the bigger win for me. The next time I'm looking to buy or talking to one of my clients about buying, I'm going to mention Street Check.
Yeah.
What about you?
Can I say the same? I've never heard of Street Check before. So I think, to be honest, that's fantastic. I kind of wish I had that before I bought my own, really, to be honest. But no, it's good. It's good little tool, and particularly those crime ones, particularly if you've got children and the schools. I think it's a great tool. So I think I've never even heard of it before, and now I know. It's fantastic. That's really good. Really good.
Excellent. Well, look, I'm glad you found that useful. I'm glad you learned something. So that probably means some of the listeners would have learned at least one thing from the episode. But that's all I wanted to talk through. So I'll hand over to you to wrap up.
Yeah, great episode. And yeah, I just want to thank everyone for joining us for the episode of Let's Talk Property. We hope you found the discussion of the UK property market informative and helpful. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future, feel free to send us a message. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and follow us on social media for updates on future episodes. Until next time, we'll
see you in the property market.
That's
probably the best one yet.